Hello and welcome back to the channel. Now, of course, it is almost Christmas, but more importantly, we are very, very close to 1,000 subscribers. We're just under 40 away. So if you guys are new around here and enjoying the content on this channel so far, please consider subscribing and leave a like on this video, because why not? If you've missed the defender aspect of this video, link description below. Defender aspects and attributes have been discussed. But anyway, 40 subscribers away. You're watching this video. If you're not subscribed, why not subscribe down below? But let's get on to the part you're actually watching, which is about midfielders in FM21 and what the best attributes are for the players. So if we go on to Norwich here, which is just a save we're doing on stream. Once again, link description below on Twitch. We have been streaming this end of second season. It doesn't matter what season you're in. Let me get rid of some of this stuff on the screen for you here so it's not too cluttered. Doesn't matter what season you're in. Attributes are important regardless of what season you're in. So I'm going to talk about the midfield here, which is more the central areas and the left and right mid. Now wingers we'll talk about in the forward aspect. Keep an eye out for that coming up on the channel very, very soon. So on to players here. Now, as my preferred formations for defensive midfield, when I talk about ball winners first, so ball winner for me, ignore the player that we're using as examples. It doesn't really matter what player I'm using for example. Just still aspects are the same. So as a ball winner for me, the most important attributes, in my opinion, are marking, tackling, and anticipation. If you can get those three right and nailed on for a ball winner, as long as they sit in that right place and know where they're going to intercept the ball and catch their man and tackle the ball and anticipate where the ball is going, they'll be very successful. Closely followed by positioning. It doesn't really matter if your guy can tackle or anticipate. If he's in the wrong position, it makes no reason as to why he's not going to be able to tackle. If the ball's down the left-hand side and he's at right wing, it doesn't matter how good his marking is. He's never going to be in the right place. So make sure position is up there as well. But for me, those those four aspects are the most important. It does say passing is very important. That's pretty much for short passes. A ball winner pretty much wins the ball back and passes it short to a more creative player. So passing isn't too massively important in my eyes. As long as you can get a ball from A to B, which any top tier player really can, that is not too important. Concentration is very important as well, as is bravery. It allows your player to always switch on, and also going to tackles aren't necessarily going to be won, but with his higher tackling attributes, he can definitely win them. In terms of physical aspects, pace isn't the be all and end all for a ball winner. If their positioning is high and their work rates are high and they're always in the right place, it doesn't matter if they can't move as much. Pace helps you get out of problems. If never in a problem, you don't need pace. In terms of strength, strength is always important. The ball winner going to 50-50 tackle, you always want your ball winner to be able to win the ball back. So strength is always nice to have, but anything below 10 I wouldn't go for, but above 12 is always solid. Stamina, once again, he's not going to move too much from position. Doesn't matter about fitness or stamina. He's not going to move too much. Agility, I'm always not too sure as to why you need agility. I think it's to get to the ball when it's in a loose phase of play so you can win it back. So it's kind of important, but it's not the be-all and end-all of the world for this attribute. In terms of other aspects we're talking about here, teamwork, always nice to have, but not the be-all and end-all. Everything else in that area we have already discussed. Now, you can go DLP defend, but for me, I like that in the central midfield role. But we'll talk about it anyway, because it's the same for centre mids or DLP. It's exactly the same. For that, we'll use Tonali. Tonali is, of course, a DLP one, so let me just move that player back to AM, where we were before. So, Tonali as a DLP defender is a prime example of what you need for a DLP defender, one of the best in the game. We bought him for £15 million this season. Once his loan ends from Milan, you can get him for pretty cheap. In the Premier League or in a top division side, you can get him for a very, very nice fee. Now for him, DLP, let's read what it says. Operates in the space between the defence and midfield, aims to initiate attacking moves via pinpoint passes to players positioned higher up the pitch. So from that, you want someone that's going to intercept the ball, pass it with good vision to a more creative player higher up the pitch. Also, primarily a creative player, DLP has to be competent in the art of defending. So in my opinion, for a DLP defend, which is better than support in my eyes, the most important ones, tackling, passing, vision, and positioning. Those for me are very important, followed by decision making. If you're making the right pass to a more creative player, your team will score goals. He will start your attacks pretty much. He'll win the ball back and he'll start your attacks. The difference in that and ball winner is that ball winner will give it to a player to start the attack. This guy is the one to start your attack. So for me, passing and vision, self-explanatory. Tackling, also self-explanatory. Positioning, get them in the right place, and also in the right place to then make a pass. So for me, decision making is very important. Once again, like I say, give it to a more creative player than yourself, but also starting an attack and keeping the ball. If you want to keep the ball a bit more as a DLP, you need a good first touch technique. Dribbling can come in handy. It's not highlighted, but it can be quite important in the midfield. You've got space to run into. They may as well run into it. Hence, decision making will make an improvement on that. If you are good at dribbling and there's space, he will dribble. If he's not very good at decision making, he might dribble when he should pass. He might pass when he should dribble. Stuff like that. Composure is nice. Keeps the player calm on the ball in a tight situation in the midfield. and gets the passes flowing. Anticipation, once again, comes in handy for defensive attributes, not necessarily for offensive, because he'll be behind the attacking line for you. In terms of physicals, now I think more of these should be highlighted. I think a DLP should be very, very physical in my opinion, or competent in getting around the pitch. Again, left and right, not up and down. Don't want him to go past the halfway line too often, but left and right across the pitch. I want him to be quite mobile, so I want agility, balance, pace, stamina, stuff like that to really utilise his physical aspect of the game. But for me, you want stuff like tries killer balls, dictates tempo, tries long range passes. Like it says here, you want to aim for passes, to pinpoint passes to players higher up the pitch. So long range passes gets it higher up. Dictates the tempo, you're the one creating the attack. And tries the killer balls always helps if you're going for a long range pass. In terms of other stuff that's not highlighted that could be important, long shots not so much. Marking is always good. Always good to have if you're marking an offensive player. Your instructions are to mark a player tightly. He'll do that to a high level. Determinations were good for improvement in the future. Leadership's nice. Holding midfielders do tend to have quite good leadership in the first place. And work rate, of course, which is highlighted, is always important. Once again, left and right across the pitch. Now, on to another role here. Another perfect example is Souček as a box-to-box. Now, in my eyes, there are two box-to-box roles that you can have. Obviously, on this game, there's only one. But for my eyes, there's two. Talk about a defensive aspect, first of all, which is what we're going to talk about Souček here. So defensively, for a box-to-box, I want physicals, acceleration, balance, pace, stamina, and strength. They will stay the same for offensive and defensive box-to-boxes, as they will still do both actions of going up and down. Just what you expect from them roles are different. In terms of a defensive box-to-box and mentals, you want anticipation, decision-making, positioning, teamwork, and work rate. Aggression is also handy as well. But for me, you want a player to be able to get back, win the ball back, and then drive up the pitch. So positioning for you is a defensive, how they can read a defensive situation to position themselves accordingly. That means a defensive box-to-box won't get caught out too much if their position is high. They won't be stuck up the pitch. When they should be back, they should get there easily enough, which is when it comes in handy with your pace, stamina, and acceleration. Positioning can be handy, but if you can't run, there's no point being a box-to-box. Teamwork's always handy, gets the work rate going, gets players working with their team. Tackling, once again, is self-explanatory, as is passing as well. In terms of an offensive box-to-box and how to define that compared to defensive, in my eyes, you find the easiest way to define or find out if your box-to-box is offensive or defensive. If their positioning is higher, then they're off the ball, they're more defensive-minded. If their off the ball is higher than positioning, they're offensive-minded. Basically, off the ball is the offensive version of positioning. So therefore, if he's better off the ball, he's more of an attacking player. That's the rule of thumb. It's not every single example. Say you've got great positioning but 1 tackling. He's not very defensive. Say he's got 15 off the ball but 8 dribbling, finishing and passing. Then he's going to be more defensive. You've got to make your mind up, but that's the best example to kind of show you what it is. If you want to be an offensive box-to-box, for me, dribbling is important. Finishing less so. Finishing isn't too important for a box-to-box in my eyes. Passing is important, as is technique. Off the ball is obviously important. And again, decision-making, composure, and anticipation. Now for me, dribbling, if you win the ball back, lower up the pitch, you want your box-to-box to drive forward with the ball and not be pinging his touches left, right, and centre. That comes hand in hand with technique. If your technique and dribbling is good, your player can keep the ball, drive yourself up the pitch, and make areas available for the other teammates that are going to make space. Like that comes in handy. Passing, if you're driving with the ball and your teammates are allowed to run in behind or run around you, you need good passing to pick out a pass. Vision's less important. You're not really making massive long passes. Obviously, Souček has plays short, simple passes. If your vision's low, that trait is very, very handy. The reason I'm not too fussed about finishing is because of box-to-box, I very rarely get them to score many goals. He hasn't scored a goal this season with 18 appearances. I don't tend to, in my tactics, have them shooting from distance. If he has good long shots and good finishing and you want him to shoot from distance, always change player instruction to have long shots or take long shots. It's up to you. But for me, I don't look for that as a box-to-box midfielder. Now, in terms of Masala, I don't really use Masalas too often. But in terms of support, it's very, very similar to a box-to-box. So take in mind what I said about box-to-box. But also bear in mind that with a support role, you want a good tackler. You don't want a Masala support with under 8 tackling. It's pretty pointless. There's no point. If your player can't win the ball back, he won't be able to do his Masala duties properly. If you're on Masala attack, then obviously look more importantly, as it highlights here, it does highlight finishing and flair. If a guy's got higher flair and finishing but worse tackling, he'll be a Masala attack. If it's a Masala support, he'll have worse finishing and flair as a rule of thumb. Once again, it can change, but obviously be careful with that. But for me, a Masala is very, very nice. They like to drift wide and operate in half spaces. Masala's a central half winger who does his defending slightly further up the field, they'll generally have less defensive responsibilities. So you always want a good tackler if you're a Masala support, not necessarily if you're a Masala attack. But with a Masala, you want decent pace, decent acceleration, good positioning and off the ball. You want both of those because they'll always be in the right place. It's quite a hard position to master. And you want good anticipation. If you're defending high at the pitch, you don't want to make a mistake that leaves your midfield exposed. So for me, anticipation is very important for a Masala. In terms of left mid and right mid, we'll go through left mid at the moment. Only one real role that I really talk about, which will be winger. Wide playmaker isn't really important this year, or nor it has been for me in the past. Inverted winger and winger are pretty much very, very similar. You need a bit more composure as an inverted winger, because you're obviously cutting in the field to many more players. You need a bit more technical ability and a bit more tight control if you're going into a packed midfield. But as a winger, can talk about here, winger support and winger attack are very, very similar. Talk about it soon. Winger support, as you're a left mid or a right mid, get back and help defence a lot more. Hence, you need better work rates to get up and down the pitch a bit more. A winger attack is a bit more lazy as such, so you don't really need work rate as much as a winger support. You still want a massive amount of pace, ideally. Pace is very... The three attributes for me, pace and crossing, they're the three most important ones for me. Oh, and acceleration. Pace and acceleration come hand in hand. So they're the three, the most important, followed by dribbling and passing. It's all good if your player can run down the wing, but if you can't pass the ball or cross it in or dribble, then there's no point in having pace in the first place. You want them to go hand in hand. It's a very, very basic role, as you guys can see, compared to a box-to-box of how many highlights attributes are highlighted. A winger support is very, very basic. There's not much to really look at here. It's one of the most basic roles in FM. It kind of says what it does in the tin. Run down the wing, cross it in. As a winger attack, you do that even more so, a bit more flair and anticipation. You kind of go on the shoulder defender a bit more than deeper if you're a winger support. So let's say what it says here. The winger aims to beat his man on the outside. Technically proficient, so hence technique, passing, dribbling and crossing, as well as quick in order to do so. Basically what I've said there. The winger hugs the touchline when the team's going forward, ready to surge into space and attack the byline. As winger support, it says pretty much the same thing, but the difference is in-game, the winger will be the winger attack will be higher up, the winger support will get back a bit more. So hence, with winger support, work rate is very important. I think that's pretty much it, to be honest with you. I'll discuss, actually no, advanced playmaker, we can discuss this or forwards. We'll discuss APs right now for you. In my opinion, the best roles, we'll do talk centre mids, because they're both exactly the same. If you're an AM or a centre mid, you'll still play advanced playmaker exactly the same way. The only logical place for me, logical role, in this position for me is advanced playmaker attack. I wouldn't bother anything else in my eyes. Shadow Striker can work. I have heard rumours it is very good this year, but I've personally not used it as much, so I can't recommend it to you. But in terms of advanced playmakers, what I look for, passing and vision are the top two by a mile. Then you've got dribbling, first touch technique, and acceleration. If your guy's acceleration is high, generally their pace is pretty high, so I wouldn't worry too much about pace. Acceleration is very, very important though. Getting past your man and finding a bit of space to make that nice bit of passing. Flair is also very important as is decision making. There's no point having good passing and vision if your decision making is low. Be careful though, if your passing and vision is high and your decision making is low, I would look to avoid that player. There's no point in having good passing when it's always the wrong guy. Dribbling, first touch and technique always come in hand. Not really seen any players that aren't good at one, but good at the others. They tend to be good at all three if they're a top player for you. In terms of anticipation, hasn't really been too important for me, nor is composure. Composure tends to impact you in front of goal. For me, I don't want my APs attacking the goal too much. I want to pass and get the assists rather than shoot. So for me, composure is not too massively important, but it depends how your style of play obviously is. Now, agility last year was probably the most important feature for APs, but for this year, doesn't seem too overpowered. Pace seems to take the reins with this one. Agility is still important, but for me, I would probably say in physical aspects, acceleration and pace is more important for you. Strengths are relevant. Natural fitness doesn't matter too much. You're not going to be up and down the pitch loads depending how you're playing midfielder. Concentration is always important. Don't want your AP to drift off out wide. You want to be switched on all the time, ready for a pass. Hence, concentration, making him always in the right place at the right time. Off the ball is good. Reflects the player's ability to move when not in possession of the ball, making themselves available to receive a pass in a dangerous area. So, as an AP, you also want to find pockets of space to turn, maybe and dribble, and also pass and release the ball. So, off the ball is also a very, very important attribute for you. Once again, determination if you're a youngster. For every role on every FM game, determination helps your development if you are young, and just pretty much just helps the player become a lot better for your team overall. And that is pretty much it for midfield. We'll talk about wingers and forwards next episode, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed. Leave a like if you did. Subscribe if you're new around here. Let me know, comments below, what your favourite positions are for the midfield and what your systems are, your formations as well. But like I said, guys, we're almost almost at 1,000 subscribers. It'd be massive if we get there by the end of the year, which is 8 or 9 days away. Hope you guys enjoyed the episode. I'll catch you all next time. Remember guys, subscribe, leave a like, and I hope you guys enjoy. See you later guys.